Entrepreneurially Thinking is a presentation of BioSTL and CET, Center for Emerging Technologies, with Rare Gem Productions, changing the way you view new ventures, including you on the pathway to success with your business in the St. Louis marketplace and beyond. Here's your hosts, Cheryl and Christy. Now let's get thinking entrepreneurially.
Welcome to the Entrepreneurially Thinking Podcast. Our goal is to energize your entrepreneurial mindset and create pathways for business success in the St. Louis marketplace and beyond. I'm Christy Maxfield with the Center for Emerging Technologies.
And I'm Dr. Cheryl Watkins-Moore with BioSTL, leading the Inclusion Initiative.
Fantastic. Well, I don't know about you, Cheryl. Actually, I do know about you.
You do know about me.
You've been really busy this summer.
We have all been busy.
You've literally been moving. I've been teaching a new class.
Yes.
We did a podcast in front of a live audience, which feels like a million years ago, but really was this summer.
And that was really a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun.
So if you guys haven't heard it, go out there and listen to the podcast. We had a ball doing it.
Yes. And so as we like to say, we're interested in stepping outside of our comfort zones, and we've done a lot of that as of late. So we're really glad that you are too. And we're thrilled that you've made our show a part of your regular routine.
Yes.
If this is your first time listening, we know that you'll make it part of yours as well. Mm-hmm. And you're a part of a special community of learners and doers who are breaking through their fears and doubts to think differently and act boldly. And we applaud you.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. We also have some other news.
Yes,
too, right?
We have more applause needed because we are welcoming our newest sponsor. Mueller Pro CPAs and business advisors have joined CET and BioSTL in helping us bring this visionary and inspirational podcast to you.
Yes.
They have listened. They have heard. They have bought. We've sealed the deal.
And anybody else out there that wants to sponsor, we are always looking for new sponsors.
Yes,
so,
we have the real estate, and we're happy to talk with you about how we can make that happen. You can find more about our sponsors and follow the links to their websites at entrepreneuriallythinking.com. And stay connected with the show on all of your favorite streaming platforms and social media outlets.
Well, it seems like our innovation community in St. Louis just keeps growing.
It's a boom.
Yes, that's great news for our city and our state. And it means innovators and entrepreneurs can choose from a variety of locations, communities, and support organizations when deciding where to build their companies. The newest addition is 39 North, at the western end of what some call the Innovation Corridor, from T-Rex in downtown through Cortex and out 6440, there's 39 North. It's being built in the heart of our AgTech activity that's in our region. And we are so really happy to learn more about what's going on there.
It's a great addition.
Yes. Leading this ambitious project is Janet Wilding, Vice President of Major Projects at the St. Louis Economic Development Partnership. And one of the many partners Janet is working with to bring the 39 North community to life is Tyler Matthews of Venture Cafe. Both are with us today to share more about the mission and purpose of this unique AgTech Innovation Center. We'll get that conversation started after this quick break. So as I always say, stay listening.
Now here's Make It Happen with Keith Sales Pro.
According to Peter Handel, the CEO of Dale Carnegie Training Institute, here are 5 essential rules for great presentations. Number 1, be yourself. If you pose as somebody you're not, your audience will know you're insecure and therefore disbelieve whatever you're saying. 2, tell stories. The purpose of a presentation is not to convey information. You can do that with a data sheet. The purpose of a presentation is to show how the information has meaning for what you're doing. Number 3, practice. The very best public speakers make it seem as though the ideals are so new and original that the speaker is slightly surprised at what he or she is saying. 4, socialize. Audiences consist of individuals. Always arrive early and try to get to know some of the individuals in your audience that you're speaking to. And number 5, brevity. For every presentation that wrapped up too early, there are 1,000 that have gone on way too long. Today, remember, it can happen. It will happen. And together, we will make it happen.
Follow Keith Sales Pro on Facebook or Twitter at Keith Sales Pro, or visit his website at keithsalespro.com.
It can happen. It will happen. And together, we will make it happen.
Hey, this is Tyler Matthews from Venture Cafe St. Louis. Entrepreneurial thinking to me, that means basically being able to think quick, not getting stuck on going over the details too much to where you're driven by analysis paralysis, but also being able to be thoughtful of how you approach problem solving and being able to do it with good speed and scale.
So Janet and Tyler, thank you so much for joining us today. I've got lots of questions because 39 North is literally and figuratively huge. Yes. And so I'm really excited to talk about that, how you guys are working together, and all the juicy details. So Janet, can you tell our listeners a little bit about you, the St. Louis Economic Development Partnership, otherwise known as SLEDP, and what this thing called 39 North is?
Sure, I can talk about that. Thanks for having me on. So 39 North is an innovation district. It's an area, it's a geography, it's a neighborhood. Similar to Cortex, but also different in a lot of important ways. And sometimes for shorthand, we say to people, it's kind of the suburban Cortex. We are very interested in focusing this innovation center in Creve Coeur more in the plant science, data science, agriculture, and then any of those industries or sectors that sort of serve agriculture.
When you talk about industry, that industry is no longer the, put the seed in the ground and put some water on it, okay, and watch it grow. Right. That whole thing has morphed and changed where you're looking at, artificial intelligence, using that, crop surveillance, using drone technology. So for our listeners, if you are in fact, you know nothing about ag, technology is really heavily used in this area.
One of the things that I think is so incredible is how large a part the economy is, agriculture is of the economy of our state. Yes. So it represents $88 billion annually for the state of Missouri.
That's unbelievable.
Which is, so you think about Missouri in particular, and you think about what goes on in Kansas City with animal health, and how they have really focused as a sector on animal health, and how they have really grown that. Kim Young and her group over there at KC, and they're doing amazing things there. You think about Columbia and what an incredible resource Mizzou is with their veterinary medicine and their ag school. And then you just take the entire university system throughout the state, and it's really amazing how many people in the state work either directly in producing agriculture, they're training the next vet, or they're training the next PhD in plant science, or these massive research fields that Mizzou runs all over the state. And then you come to St. Louis, and we had such a, not to make a bad pun, but we had a really fertile ground to work with because we located near Monsanto and Danforth and the Helix Center and Bridge Park, but the whole region has incredible and old assets that are here. Nestle Purina, an old established company, but still one of the biggest producers of animal food and a huge user of commodities. And then you have Anheuser-Busch InBev, which is one of the largest users of water and hops and wheat. And we have just a really incredible history with agriculture and commodities in this area. And then Monsanto and Pfizer and Bunge have been really on the cutting edge of taking that more into the technology area with seed and data and chemicals. So, it's just, we have a really genuine, authentic strength in this area. And that's really the genesis of 39 North. Is acknowledging that and then creating a neighborhood for that industry. So.
There's even more subtle, the fact that even in Cortex we have a working grain elevator. It's owned by a co-op of farmers. And my husband used to work for Bunge, so I'm very familiar with the shortest distance from harvest to market. I think they just became a sponsor. No.
I think they did too.
Well, maybe we'll be having a conversation. I don't know. But I think of that, and even Innovation Stockyard out in St. Joseph. Previously, I think St. Joseph was best known as the first point on the Pony Express, and now it's where a huge amount of animal health in particular is being done. CT, you all might recall, is a state innovation center, and one of our counterparts is out there. Ronan is doing great work out at Innovation Stockyard. Yeah. So that's That's just incredible.
So our region has the real credibility behind this type of industry, which is really nice to know.
It really does. And, I haven't named every single company, but I mean, Archer's Daniels Midland is another very big presence in St. Louis on the North Riverfront. And so anyway, that is really the backdrop and the background for why, as the economic development department for the city and the county, that we went to the federal government and asked them to fund a master plan to say, this is such an important part of the economy, and we're getting very skilled at creating innovation districts in this region. Let's do one for the AgTech industry. And so we were fully funded by the Department of Commerce, which was fantastic. So they gave us $500,000 to create a master plan that would be very holistic, where we were creating not just real estate or assembling real estate, but actually looking at this area and creating a community.
That's what I think is really key. It's not just, how most people, if you know about, South Carolina or the Research Triangle, where people came in to work and then they left when work was done. I think that's the difference between 39 North, Cortex, all of our innovation districts. It's really about living, working, playing there, right?
Exactly. And just to kind of bring Tyler into this, I think one of the things as we went through the master plan, and we did all last summer, we were out in the community doing focus groups and doing meetings and, trying to touch as many people, whether they were residents in the area of Creve Coeur or Olivette, or whether they worked in the area, or whether they were, selling real estate in that area. We wanted to understand what people really wanted, or really what they really understood about what an innovation district was.
So what was some of their feedback when you approached them? First of all, let's take a step back. 39 North is a very interesting name. How did you guys come up with the name of this new district?
Yeah, it was a really great process. Actually, we were working on the master plan, which is kind of the duller stuff of land use and looking at the transportation network.
Sexy.
I know, right? Looking at some hiking and biking trails and how that all worked, and then kind of my partner in crime in this was Katie Jamborats, who's our VP of marketing, and she was really committed. She saw early on this is going to be very much about communicating and also programming. And so her focus early on was, Janet will figure out the infrastructure and how that all works, but I know I have to actually go out and talk about this and sell this. And so she brought on Rogers Townsend, which is an ad agency and a branding agency. And we kind of told them our story as we knew it at the time. They kind of told us that back, and then they kind of helped us through the process of branding it. And what they found was that, if you really want to be the center of ag for the globe, you need to have a hook that has some authenticity to it, as we were talking about earlier. And what's more authentic than the geography you're sitting on?
Sure.
And so we're on the 39th parallel, and if you follow that globally, you really see how that's kind of the breadbasket of a lot of crops all over the world. And
that's very cool.
Yeah, so it was a really neat process, and they gave us, they kind of wrote it up in this very inspirational way and helped us kind of get our heads around this sort of bigger story about what we were doing. And then, so they were great. RT was great. We enjoyed working with them so much. And then on the programming side, we knew that what was going on at Cortex was so successful. And we knew that, bringing people together, you guys do it weekly.
And you're talking about Tyler.
Right.
And Venture Cafe. So maybe Tyler.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can you step in? Tell us a little bit about you first, because you're pretty new to Venture Cafe.
Yeah, so I've been being quiet over here. So I just came on to Venture Cafe in January of 2017 of this year. And actually I think right after I started, we were launching the cafe night at 39 North. So, I think things have been great and busy, especially since day one we were launching 2 satellites. But I think to what Janet was saying, the importance around the community part is really awesome that they picked that up, because I think that's, even just in general, the way that people live and work now is different. I know we're always trying to figure out the work-life balance thing, but we do know that it is getting harder to separate the two. And if you're going to have a situation where it's tricky to parse those, like at least you can have the amenities and the bike paths or the community, the restaurant, et cetera, all of that. So that way people aren't constantly, there's not like that pure, even physical separation. People can kind of like turn off for a minute, even in their own district. So I think it's the plans, which I would encourage people to go Google because they look awesome, look really inspiring. A lot of outdoor stuff, a lot of very cool stuff like that. But anyway, and
I was just going to really build on that. If you guys don't know this, 39 North is, if you know where Monsanto is here in the St. Louis city, across the street, directly across the street on Olive, is the Donald Danforth Science Center. So that complex over there, they're looking at how can you make that walkable, livable, rideable, and connecting it with community. So the shopping areas that are over there, of course, I know, in the food areas.
Yes, there's good dining.
Great dining, and actually looking to bring more of that to the
Not
district.
far from Lulu's.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I know.
So you're talking to the two foodies here, which,
or at least we like to eat. We espouse no other skills other than liking to eat.
But bringing that programming, I think, is also very key because it ties in. And even if you're not over there, you can come over and hear about what's going on, right?
And what's good too is that it's because St. Louis, it's spread out, but it's not, massive. So, having two different things happening, I know some people are like, well, why would you do that? Like, it's not like a 40-minute drive, tops, 30 minutes. But the thing is that St. Louis, too, that people don't really like to drive that far away.
I'm very from spoiled. Chicago. Yeah. So to me, driving 30 minutes, 40 minutes, are you kidding?
But, so it's good.
Hours.
We're able to pull like people from St. Charles, people from West County that maybe they've gone to Venture Cafe, the Thursday gathering in Cortex once or twice, but they're like, oh, thank God we got one closer to us now. So, and it works complementary too, because now we're having people in the 30 North District coming out to Cortex and vice versa. Yeah. And so,
and you can learn something different. I mean, in Cortex, you're learning about different technologies, meeting different people. Same thing, I think, at 39 North, which is really great. You get to meet, you're expanding your network, right?
Right.
Yeah. And Tyler, can you tell us a little bit more about sort of Venture Cafe as a once-a-week gathering? Has a huge footprint within the Cortex district. And I know you've probably been pushed and pulled by a lot of folks to be like, why aren't you doing it here? And why aren't you doing it there? And we've made the point that it's not just it's not about the real estate, right? These innovation centers, real estate's incredibly important, but there's this programming component. So, and there's proximity. Like we throw all these things together. We've got to be close together. We have to be able to blend our lives. We have to be able to complement it with programming. But I would imagine making the decision to add 2 new off-cycle, so to speak, gatherings and make one of them out at 39 North was a big decision for Venture Cafe.
Yeah, it is. We're the only one. So there's 5 including us, Venture Cafes in the globe, Rotterdam in the Netherlands being the other international one, and a couple more coming online soon. But so for us, we were the first one to actually go outside of our core, I guess. And so, but for Venture Cafe St. Louis, it's important because we do understand that there's a lot happening around the area, and we're not just for Cortex, we're for entrepreneurs everywhere.
Right.
And for us, it's like the opportunity to help build a community in 39 North is really, that's where we want to be, is like, how can we help continue to build those communities and that 0 to 1 phase entrepreneur. So they want to be an entrepreneur and they don't know how, or they're an entrepreneur, but they still need to get
They don't know how.
Yeah, they still don't know how. And you've been an entrepreneur for 3 years and you still don't know what you're doing. Right. But that's really kind of our focus. And so it's like, okay, this partnership that we have now with 39 North is that same thing. It's like, let's help build this region up and these different pockets that are happening. And this one has a lot of great traction. So we're happy to be there.
Fantastic. We're going to take a quick break and come back and talk about how that community is formed and what you all are doing.
Miller Prost, CPAs and Business Advisors, is the proud sponsor of today's Entrepreneurially Thinking podcast, offering a full range of professional tax, audit, accounting, and consulting services. Learn more at millerprost.com. MUELLERPROST.com. Miller Prost, CPAs and Business Advisors, advising with vision.
everyone has a part to play in this, and that everyone must play a part in this, because this cannot be from the top down. It can't be mandated by the federal government or by the states or whatever. This has to be done in an individual, person-to-person, heart-to-heart, soul-to-soul, community by community. This is how this work will be done, to transform communities from the inside out, to create a healthier community in every way, physically, emotionally, mentally. And I think that by connecting each other, that's how that begins to happen, when we realize that we have so much in common, we're so much more alike than we are different.
If we as a community have an awareness and understanding to react and respond differently to situations in our lives, we are going to create true community change. We have to recognize the true cause, the root of what's wrong with somebody. Working not to address the symptoms, but to address the cause. It's time to thrive. Be alive and well. Join this movement at aliveandwellstl.com.
Hi, this is Janet Wilding from the St. Louis Economic Development Partnership. Entrepreneurially thinking means to me that it's all on the table, and talk to your friends, talk to your colleagues, get all the good ideas, and the good ideas win.
So we were talking about building community, which it sounds so simple, but it's actually really hard to do, especially with the busy lives that we lead. And, to give folks some sense of perspective, Cortex is a almost 200-acre district where Cortex's job is to curate the real estate that makes the community be what it is, and then have the programming occur within that physical footprint. This is going to be 600 acres. That's ginormous in my book. And so, how do you build community in 600 acres? There's lots of opportunity.
All kinds of opportunity.
But I could also see really siloed experiences, like never getting, because it's hard to get people to walk from 4240 to 20 South Sarah, and that it ain't that far.
Right, especially when it's 9,000 degrees outside.
Well, yes, but anyway, we have very specific conditions for our walking.
The office for lunch, so
there you go. When we are allowed to escape, we do that.
I think also too, what's very interesting is 39 North, because it is specific to plant life sciences. It's for a lot of people that live here, right in our market, they don't even know what that means.
Well, yeah.
So
I mean,
this is I
eat fruits and vegetables. Right. I know animals.
Right. I have a dog.
Right. I enjoy a good steak.
Right. Well, they're not the same, but yes. Okay.
I was just trying to cover the spectrum of... And going forward.
There goes the sponsor.
Oh, right, yeah.
But no, I think that for a lot of people, and especially coming out for the programming, if you don't know about a lot about the ag space, this is the best place to learn. St. Louis has been touted as having the most PhD plant life scientists in the world.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right here.
750?
Yeah, we say 750, but we just kind of redid that number. And, I think we're closer to 1,000.
Wow.
Honestly.
Baby scientists.
Yeah.
That's
yeah, it's great. And, just to go back to an earlier question about priorities, I think as a planner and, just kind of knowing how people respond sometimes in a survey or whatever, I was shocked to find what the highest priorities were as we went on and talked. And it didn't matter if it was a scientist. It didn't matter if it was a neighbor. It didn't matter if it was a long-term property owner. People asked for connectivity. They wanted us to make sure we had in the master plan that there would be biking and walking paths.
Yep.
And it was a lot of the scientists who asked for those because they want to get out of their offices at lunch, or they want to bike do something at WashU, but they want to be able to bike to the Danforth Center, and the bike path is almost finished but not quite. Could you finish that so I could do my commute? So it was just really interesting that the bike infrastructure was absolutely number one. And so we're really looking at that and making inroads to having those be the highest priority. Also, the vehicular infrastructure around that area is a little dated. So we are looking at Olive and Lindbergh and how that functions. And we've got a grant in for federal money to actually redesign that intersection. We'll know by the end of the month if we were successful in getting that money. So, and we were also granted $400,000 by Great Rivers Greenway to start the planning and the construction of the first phase of the Greenway. So once we knew what the priorities were, sort of my point is, we knew who to go ask and talk to about making those priorities a reality. You know, we heard loud and clear that programming and being able to come there and learn was a big priority. So we knew to reach out to Venture Cafe.
So how are you all reaching out to? Because one of the things that from our inclusion initiative, we engage with KWS, which is the new German seed company that's new to St. Louis. And we have, in collaboration with Diversity Awareness Partnership, we have a high school program where we are sourcing kids from city, county to be able to come out. It's over 3 days where they're exposed to the KWS, the corporate environment, but also the ag environment, what they're doing. They do a tour of the Danforth Center, and they get to meet a lot of these plant life science scientists, as well as understand the role of an ag type of company, a global company in our world. How do you guys look at, or how are you thinking about? Because I think the most important thing is how do we get our children interested and getting them engaged, especially kids of color that might not live in that area, might not know about, 39 North, or parents. How do we get them engaged with being a part of this? I think really is a great innovation district.
Well, we should talk with you after this
Awesome.
about that program.
Sure.
But, I think for us, for Venture Cafe, and we've always had a big emphasis on trying to also make innovations for everyone. And so we're trying to, through our programming, reinforce that. So, we're always looking to try and diversify the types of speakers that are coming. And then also, hopefully, that's bringing different folks that maybe don't normally engage in the area to come through. So that's something that we look at with, the 39 North location as well. So a lot of it's driven through programming for us. That's how we try and do it, and then just continue to build networks and new relationships along the way.
Yeah, because I think that there's a great opportunity with the school districts to get them engaged with, even with tours, exposing kids. Because I'll tell you, we had kids from Florissant, we've had kids from different districts, and when they take this type of, because this is an offered opportunity through the schools, and their perception of ag when they start, they think of
farmers.
Yeah, I'm not going to be a farmer. And then when they look at it, because what KWS does is taking them through, this is about genomics, this is about science, this is all about crop surveillance and how impactful this is.
I just love the idea of surveilling crops.
Oh my gosh. Using a drone. But the kids walk away with a different perception. Yeah. A different whole, oh my God, now I do maybe want a career in this area. So I think it would be beneficial if you guys haven't reached out. This is such a great opportunity for our city and for our students to really get engaged.
Yeah. But in terms of reaching out and building the community, because we've talked about the anchor institutions like Helix and Bridge Park and Danforth and Monsanto, I bet there's a bunch of people who are like, I don't do Venture Cafe. That's not for me, right? So how do you get
I don't know any of those people.
I know you don't. I'm so sorry. I didn't know why I thought to suggest there might be such people.
There's free beer.
Well, there is. And even if you're a scientist, especially if you're a scientist, right? You understand
free beer and wine,
all the benefits that'll go along with it.
Makes conversations real easy.
Easier.
Right.
Easier.
To be honest, though, I mean, there's not. I'm gonna stereotype a scientist, but even like entrepreneurs in general, like not everyone's a big social extrovert like I am, so it helps kind of grease the wheels a little bit.
Absolutely. And if you hear, I guess my point is, if you have been hanging out in West County and you've heard about Venture Cafe and Cortex and you haven't made the trip, you've heard that there's a lot of people, right? 400 to 500 of your closest friends get together every Thursday from 3 to 8 p.m.
Because we all have 400 close friends.
Right. What's intimidating about that? Nothing at all. Right?
Nothing.
So how did you actually decide to make it a different experience for folks coming either who have experienced Venture Cafe before or who might have thought of themselves as being a little skeptical of being part of a community, so to speak?
Honestly, I think that's something we're still working on. I mean, because it's a monthly event, so you can't, the 39 North one, the Cortex, it's weekly, so you can iterate a lot quicker. So I think we're still figuring out our audience. I think our audience is still figuring out us, and they're learning what's 39 North and they're learning what's Venture Cafe at the same time.
What day of the weekend, when is your monthly gathering held?
I'm glad you asked that.
Yes. I want my $50.
She's good like that. 50, wow. It's getting steep.
I'm cheap. Yeah.
I thought it was expensive. Either way you look at it. Anyway, what day would that be?
Yes.
Venture Cafe is free, by the way.
Yes.
So it's the third Tuesday of each month.
Okay.
So actually...
And what time?
It's from 4 to 8 p.m.
Okay.
So this August 15th is the next one.
Next week.
Yep, that's next week. So
and those of you listening off schedule, you'll be able to find your third Tuesday as appropriate.
Yes. Right.
Yeah,
right.
Awesome. I mean, it's on the website, the 39 North, the partnership, and Venture Cafe. I'll have info on that. But so what was the question?
When and where?
Right.
Yeah, okay, we covered that. So, but...
and people, don't be afraid. Yes, it could be very intimidating. A lot of people, I look at it as a lot of opportunity to meet new people. Because these folks are not just ag people. If it's mimicking Venture Cafe, that's part of the Cortex district, you could meet people from corporate. You can be meeting entrepreneurs, people in the arts. You can be meeting people from all cross sections of life, retired people, students, because there's a big thing with students coming down to Cortex. Hopefully that's the same thing that will be happening at 39 North.
Just to kind of talk about outreach, and we are still really figuring this out, because I think that, we're in a different part of the area. It skews a little bit older out there, and and the entrepreneurs are a little older. They're a little bit different. Some of them have retired out of a company, or they've worked in a number of companies, and now they have this big idea, and they're officing in Helix, and maybe they have a family, or maybe they've brought their parents over here to live. So it's a bit of a different group, and so we're trying to really understand who's living and working out there already, and then how do we customize the marketing so we get to them. So we've gone everything from full social media, which Tyler's team does, exquisitely. And then we've also kind of had to go and do some kind of old school marketing. I mean, we flyer Westport Plaza, all the lunch spots. We flyer all the hot spots in Creve Coeur and Olivette.
Understanding your market, because millennials are somewhat around Cortex, but you have a different market. You were talking about, Janet, earlier, some of the feedback, and I kind of like cut you off to understand 39 North, what that meant. What was some of the feedback when you talked to folks that lived out there about this new district being formed? Yeah,
it was, I have to say, in 25 years of doing urban planning, this has been the most positive master plan I've ever worked on. Wow. People really do understand that people involved in this sector are solid citizens. You want them in your neighborhood. You want them buying houses. You want them, using the school district. They're going to be great neighbors. They're going to be great citizens. So there's no downside perception of what's going on, which is incredible. So kind of starting from that really positive platform, we can say, okay, now what are your wants and needs? What amenities are you missing? And so, people were generally extremely positive. The other thing is it's a little bit different model for redevelopment than, say, Cortex. We are not doing any eminent domain. We're doing very little sort of directing of the real estate. We're trying to work with the current property owners as they sit and just say, what about this idea? When you think about redeveloping your property, or when you rent to the next person, think about branching out and maybe looking for an entrepreneur to come into your space and renovate it. So we're trying to change the perception even among property owners that you might have a different customer out there or a different client out there that you haven't thought about. And so I think there's 72 individual property owners in the district. So, working with them and understanding that we're here to sort of bring the market up for you and not take the market over and direct you. And so really helping them understand that the infrastructure changes that we are prioritizing for the district are going to help their business, whether they rent to an entrepreneur or if they stay a car dealership. This is going to help you understand.
Well, I think what's really cool is because you have existing business owners there in proximity, so some of your young entrepreneurs, they can learn from many of those different. So it provides a really nice synergy, and maybe collaborative partnerships can evolve from.
That's definitely, I think, one of the benefits of this too is that because it skews a little more experienced, that younger entrepreneurs should. I mean, that's definitely where they should go, right? Because then they have got more access to experienced entrepreneurs who have those connections. I mean, you're going to run into some of the leadership at Danforth there, some big names, and
one of the things we did not mention that's there is the St. Louis Community College and their Bridge Park.
Rob Norris
oh my God, that is an amazing facility for people who if you're looking for new career opportunities, you should be looking there at the Bridge Park facility. They have an associate's degree that you can get to become a lab technician. We actually interviewed on one of our panels a young man who was basically when the auto industry tanked, and I think when the plants closed out in Wentzville or something like that, he came in, got retrained, was part of the Bridge Park training, and is now a lab tech in one of the growing startups that we have.
And we talked to Christine, and who's with Avergenics, which is out there as well. So, we've had a lot of good experiences. So we love that 600 acres is a massive undertaking, and clearly we can't wave a magic wand and have 39 North in its entirety fully realized, but we have these opportunities every third Tuesday to join
third Tuesday of the month.
Every third Tuesday of the month, to join Venture Cafe at 39 North to learn more. When can we expect to see some tangible signs that, like, oh, this thing is actually growing? Because I know there's a lot of infrastructure that's already in there, but when will we start to see what you've envisioned as 39 North?
Right. I think we'll be planning the Greenway here soon and really figuring out what piece of that we can build first. We're partnering with the city of Creve Coeur that's also working on some pathway stuff coming out of Stacy Park. So you might see some of that. If we're successful with the federal grant, we'll be looking at, in probably about a year, construction on the Olive Lindbergh interchange. We're also working with the city of Creve Coeur to redesign Old Olive so it is contiguous over Lindbergh, and that can become more of a main street for Creve Coeur. We're working a lot with Olivette on with their realtor groups about how to really integrate because Olivette has a lot of residential real estate, and we want to make sure. And I just also wanted to do a shout out to Mosaic, and because they are working with us very closely to make sure, Betsy and Vin, to make sure that all of our efforts really include, a really wide, diverse group
and immigrant
of people.
entrepreneurs who we know are a huge portion of our entrepreneur community.
Yeah, we also are lucky in our office. The Promise Zone is also housed at the SLEDP, so Erica Henderson's group is there.
I was going to say, making sure that we reach not only the contiguous areas, but we need to be reaching out to those other areas that are part of our overall community and making sure that they feel included too.
Absolutely. And then we also in our office, Ginger Emster, who you probably know, is running the Innovation and Entrepreneurship section of our operation.
Yes.
So Ginger's a great resource.
Absolutely.
So we're lucky in that as kind of an umbrella organization for economic development, we touch a lot of issues. So we try to collaborate with each other to make sure that we're hitting all of these things that are goals for us as well. So
we're collaborators with you to get the word out.
Yeah.
Because I think this is important for everybody to hear. So
there's lots of energy. The message is there's lots of energy. There's one opportunity a month at a minimum for you to go out and experience this, meet new people, and start to get involved in this nascent community. And basically, when you see folks breaking ground, you can rest assured it's probably part of the master plan.
Absolutely.
And so it'll be one step closer to 39 North being a full-fledged innovation community. So on that note, how can our listeners find out more about you and the work that you're doing? So, Tyler, if folks want more information on Venture Cafe, where should they go?
Yeah, I would have them just Google Venture Cafe St. Louis.
Okay.
And that will take you to our calendar. We have a short URL, so it makes it difficult to explain how to spell it. You got to VENCAFSTL.org/calendar. But that's got our everything on it, including the 39 North programming.
Good.
Great. And they can sign up for a mailing list there?
They can sign up there. Yep.
And they can get your wonderful newsletter that you send out weekly. You are on top of it. I can't even. I'm monthly. It's hard for me.
I'm glad we looked that together. Yeah.
Excellent. Yes.
And please check our website if you love reading master plans or just looking at
really great renderings.
Yes.
Yeah, look at the renderings.
I like the pictures.
She's got pretty pictures.
I was going to say the pretty pictures.
Yeah, please. So it's a 122-page master plan, but there are some great pictures in it. And we would love it if people would just look at that. And then also we're going to be doing some more community outreach. I always have a table at Venture Cafe talking about the plan and what we're planning to do and what 39 North is. So come and visit me at Venture Cafe every third Tuesday, and I'd be happy to tell you what's going on.
Great. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for making time in your busy schedules and master planning to be with us. We had a great time and look forward to staying on top of all the new developments.
Go get your next beer and wine.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care, guys.
Bye.
Changing the way you view new ventures, igniting your thinking about entrepreneurship. It's entrepreneurially thinking. Get connected and discover more. Visit our website for show notes, resources, information about our guests, upcoming events, and of course, all your favorite episodes. If you have any questions, be sure to leave them for us in the comment sections, and be sure to leave us a 5-star rating on iTunes. The best way to show love is to share. Let everybody know that you're thinking entrepreneurially. So visit our website, entrepreneuriallythinking.com. #ETHINKSTL. Entrepreneurially Thinking is another positive production of Rare Gem Productions. Thanks for listening.